Good afternoon, everyone, or could be good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's presentation on simplifying ERP data integrations for nonprofits. I think we have a very um, interesting topic today. Chris, you and I were just talking about this topic, how relevant it is. And I had mentioned that I don't recall any, when I work with nonprofits as we're helping them transition from one system to the other, that the topic of data integration doesn't show up. We always talk about this. So I think that this is a very relevant topic for many folks.
Agreed.
We will get started. Just a quick introduction here. So I'm Bulin Tran. I'm Senior VP of Financial Solutions with JMT Consulting. I'm actually located in the DC area and spent my entire career serving and supporting nonprofits with their back office accounting operations, leveraging various financial systems. And joining me today are the folks from DataBlend, Chris Radicone and Peter McIntyre. Chris, you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. Uh, as Belinda said, my name is Chris Radicone. I am the nonprofit account executive here at DataBlend. I've been working with nonprofits for about 15 years. I've worked at nonprofits. I've worked as a consultant. I've worked in this ecosystem for a long time. And so nonprofits are my passion, and happy to be here and to talk a little bit about DataBlend and how we can help nonprofits maximize their time.
Great. Peter?
Hi, everyone. Peter McIntyre, VP of Product at DataBlend. I will be walking through the platform a little bit later just to give everyone an idea of how things work in DataBlend with a couple examples.
Great. Thank you so much. So I just have a few slides here, just on housekeeping here. So if you have questions, please submit your questions in the question box on your control panel, and we will answer them at the either during the presentation or at the end of the presentations. We want to get through all your questions. Today's recording and slide will be emailed to you following the webinar. This presentation is CPE accredited. Your participation today may earn you 1 CPE credit. To receive a CPE credit, you need to actively respond to polling questions 3 out of the 4, complete the survey that will pop up at the end of the webinar, and stay on for the duration of the webinar. If you have technical questions, please indicate in the chat or email. If you have technical issues, I'm sorry, with the polling questions and things like that, please send an email or chat message over to us, and we provide an email address there. So just a quick introduction, who is JMT? JMT was founded in 1991 to help nonprofits achieve their mission. We work exclusively with nonprofit organizations. As you can see there, we are headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. We serve over 2,000 nonprofits across the US and just a few in Canada as well. And we support nonprofits with their back office accounting operations, leveraging financial systems, and also accounting services.
Bulin, I just want to interject. I don't think we're seeing your slides.
Oh, you're not seeing my slides?
No.
Oh, I am so sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I went right into the presentation.
No worries.
Thank you. I'm seeing my slide.
There it is. Perfect.
Nobody else can see my slide. So thank you for that, Chris.
No, of course.
All right. Our services, we implement and support 2 ERP solutions. One is Sage Intacct, which is a cloud-based solutions, and we also support MIP. We implement and support a number of budget management solutions. We provide outsourced accounting services. We perform accounting operation assessment work as well. We assist with system integration, which is what we're going to be talking about today, as well as support on grants management. So just a couple of bullets in terms of the learning objectives for today. We'll be reviewing why ERP systems must be connected with other key platforms to ensure data consistency, accuracy, and efficiency across the organization. We'll talk about how to gain insight into the typical pain points nonprofit face when attempting to integrate systems, including data silos, manual processes, and scalability issues, and how to avoid them. And then finally, discover how today's integration platform like DataBlend simplify connectivity between systems, reduce implementation costs, and support scalable, low-cost integration strategies tailored for nonprofit needs. All right, so our agenda we will be looking at why ERP integrations matters, because as I mentioned, this is a topic that comes up every time we're talking to nonprofits about transitioning them from one ERP system to another. We'll go through the challenges that we see in terms of integration challenges. I'll talk about the modern integration platforms and what that looks like. We'll go through talk about the key factors in evaluating integration tools, and then real world use case using DataBlend and best practice. All right, did you know? And Chris, you actually shared this slide with me, and I thought it was very impactful. Can you maybe share a little bit about, the data here?
Yeah. So, typically, I was doing research for another webinar that we did recently, and found some of these statistics that I thought were really interesting. And what I found most impactful were these three in particular. One is that inaccurate donor data can reduce fundraising effectiveness by 20%. And what that means is that and what we'll talk about probably quite a bit today is the fact that more often than not, organizations, when they're starting out, or when they're starting out on legacy systems, and you have your data is siloed amongst different platforms. So you have your donor database, you have your ERP, you have your things like point of sales, all sorts of different systems that are not connected. And so typically you have to find a way to reconcile that issue. But if you're not actively tracking and keeping up with your donor database, that can reduce your effectiveness. You're sending out, you're doing your due diligence. You're sending out you're sending out appeals to organizations, to donors that you assume are, they're in your database, but they might no longer, for one reason or another, are no longer donating to that cause. So you're sending out, and you're spending your time, and you're creating all these different appeals, and they might be landing on deaf ears. And so, if you have inaccurate donor data, you're spending your time trying to fundraise to these folks, and you're not getting back the return that you think you might. So, you assume you have X number of donors in your database, but it turns out no one has done an update on who is available, who is still donating, who is unfortunately, some can pass away, and that is not updated in the system. And so you think you're doing this outreach, and you're expecting a return, but you may find that it may turn out not to be the case. Then the next one here is 54% say grant compliance reporting is a top stressor. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but typically you're reconciling your data by the time the books close. You're not getting your updated data from all your different systems, and you need all of that different data for different reasons, most importantly for grant compliance. And so as the month end starts rolling around, or as you need to start reporting some of your data, it becomes crunch time. And suddenly you're reaching out to different departments, you're trying to get all this different data reconciled and pulled together, and you're spending an enormous amount of time doing that. And so, when it comes time for grant compliance reporting, most people are spending a full day to get that completed, maybe more, depending on the requirements. So this was one of the top stressors that we found was around grant compliance. And lastly, nonprofits with integrated systems are 2.2 times percent more like, not percent, 2.2 times more likely to report mission effectiveness. Now, what that means is that an organization that have their systems integrated have a complete, clear picture of the organization, a holistic view, a healthy view of how the organization is currently pivoting and able to pivot with the information that they have. Let's just say you now know that you have your donor database has decreased by a significant amount because you now are reconciling that data. You're integrated. You know that information is now updated and completed within all of your systems. Well, now you can pivot on how you want to reach out to those donors. Same thing, typically I always consider your ERP the engine of a nonprofit. It's the thing that fuels the organization. Development is going out and getting those donations, and then they're intaking that into the ERP. Then you have that ERP picture gives you a clear path forward on how an organization can pivot and how they're being effective or try new ways, because they now know, hey, this is where our organization stands today, and this is how we can move forward. We can try new programs, or we can, for one reason or another, you may need to pivot from a program. It'll just give you a better idea of the health of the organization and ultimately a clearer picture of how you are going to be serving the communities that you serve. So these are some of the important data points that I found not too long ago, so that I wanted to share with Bulin because I thought it was pretty interesting.
Thank you for that. And I wanted to add to when you brought up about grant compliance, and what I see in terms of what nonprofits concerns are when it comes to integrating with grants systems is that, and it doesn't matter if you're a grantor or grantee. I would say this, depending on whether you're a grantee or grantor, you have different needs and different objectives in terms of that integration. If you are a grantor, what I find is that if you're a grantor, there is concern about have I double paid on those grantee, meaning I've issued a grant, did we end up paying them twice or making more than one payment to these grantee? Because one is initiating the grants management is managing that grant process and issuing the award, but where it's being paid out of is another system. So I find that there's always that concern. And then if you're a grantee, then the question is that on the development team, they want to know, okay, what was awarded, how much do we spend, and
Right.
they don't want to be going into the accounting system. They just want to work within their system. So they want to know, where are we, So
Right.
that's how, some of the things that, we hear on our end.
And one other thing I want to add to that last number, typically, again, as we mentioned before, with the different stressors where you're rushing to reconcile all this data, that means you're taking your valuable resource, which is the folks that are working for the nonprofit, folks that are taking their time to do this good work, and you have them focused and stressing about getting all of this data reconciled and pulled together for reporting and things like that, when it could be happening all throughout the year, or all throughout in real time as data is coming into your ERP and moving across different platforms. It's all visible, it's all available. And so when you alleviate that stress, you now have the ability to take the important resource that is the people that are again at this organization, focusing on bigger picture and strategic tasks rather than minutia, right? So now you have a finance team that is less about reconciling data, but more about thinking big picture, which is something I also think is important.
Totally agree. Okay, let's move on.
Well,
So why ERP integration matters? So I can start on this. So there are a number of reasons why. I think that, here we were talking about, you had mentioned that we now live in a cloud-based world, right?
Mhm.
Many of the systems are cloud-based. And being in the cloud really allows us to, with these cloud platforms, really allows us the capability of integrating various systems. I mean, many of these cloud-based systems have open API,
Mhm.
capabilities that allow for a bi-directional integration, not just a one-way integration here. It's a bi-directional integration. And then also cloud allows for automated workflows and real-time sync of these data. And that's so crucial, right? It's not a one-time thing, but how do you continue to make sure that the data flows continuously
Right.
on a scheduled basis?
Yeah.
Um, Chris, do you want to touch upon a couple of other items here?
Yeah, sure. Like you'd mentioned, historically, we come from as things progress, we started out as installing a piece of software onto our computer using a disk or a CD, and it lived on that unit, right? And so now with the advent of cloud, you know, like you mentioned, we have this ability to now, uh, go into these systems and have the ability to pass information between these different systems as long as it's applicable and allowable. Um, Again, what that means is now we're no longer dealing with these disconnected systems, which again, the theme will come up quite a bit in this conversation. It's about siloed data. It's about being able to reconcile all the information so that an organization can make the best, most knowledgeable decision for that organization and in order to serve more of the constituents that they serve. And so, you know, having disconnected systems means a lot of things. It means you are now struggling as an organization. It may not be, a day-to-day struggle, but like we mentioned, when grant time rolls around and you have to report on those on compliance, now you're taking all of those resources and you're focusing on one thing. Um, versus having that information constantly be flowing between different systems, having full transparency across the organization from your payroll to your payroll and headcount to your donor database, your CRM, to your ERP, and having all of that information in clear, broad terms, giving you enough of that data so that an organization can do the best that they can. And again, now you're like this last bullet says, you're improving collaboration across the organization. When I was at a nonprofit, I was in development, and so it was a situation where one hand didn't wash the other. It was a situation where development knew what development knew, and we knew what our system could do, and the information it had. And then you had your finance team. We were not only were we in separate parts of a building, but we were also separated by technology. And so, development was making decisions based on what development knew, but finance, well, basically what it would require is that we require meetings to get together to then talk about what each department is doing and how they're doing and what they're doing, which creates roadblocks where, in this day and age, technology information moves very quickly. And our systems should be able to keep up with that pace. And so now with something like Data Blend, where we can employ these flexible, what we call data flows, it allows us to, in a very customizable fashion, transfer data between multiple systems and giving you a holistic view of the organization and making sure that, um, you know, again, most of the folks that are working at a nonprofit, they're wearing many hats. And so what we want to do is take one of those hats away, right? So that they can focus on things that are more important for the organization versus trying to do all the the day the more the day-to-day and think more big picture long term.
Yeah, and I wanted to just mention about two things here. The one source of truth. So sometimes we talk about the one source of truth being the ERP system, having all the data being one source of truth there. But I'm going to say it doesn't have to be the ERP system. So one source of truth really is where all your data is housed, right? And there are systems such as like the FP&A solutions that they may have multiple cubes that are where data is being pulled into those cubes and then combined together for financial reporting purposes. That solution could be your one source of truth. But no matter, regardless of where your one source of truth is, you should have one source of truth. Solutions like data blends, and what I've seen is that you can integrate, whether it's an FP&A solutions with a Sage intact, bringing data from Sage over to the FP&A, or the other way around. Either way, depending on what your one source of truth is, you can do that. That was my point. And then I think anything to improve collaboration, the last bullet is important. Because just talking to many nonprofits, I think, especially now where not everyone is in the office, collaboration is super hard,
Right.
challenging, right? It was already challenging even when you have everyone in the office, right?
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
that's this department, and that's that other department, right? Let alone everyone's in different places. And I think it's easier for us to bring data together, but bringing the data together can help with that collaboration. So anything I think that can be done to help with that collaboration, in my opinion, is great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. So we've come to our first polling question. If you can just take a few seconds. What is your organization's biggest challenge with data integration today? Manual data entry and duplications, or is it lack of real-time data visibility, difficulty connecting multiple systems, limited internal IT resources? It could be all of the above, or we don't currently have an integration process. I don't know how we're set up if folks can select more than one. I guess if it's more than one, you could just select all of the above. So we'll wait to see our results.
Wow.
All of the above. What did I say? This is definitely integration. I will say it's definitely a challenging issue that many faces. And so we're seeing the results here.
Wow.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, integration challenges. So we were just been talking about this. I'm going to quickly go through this because I want to make sure we get to talk about the scenario that we have to discuss later. Okay, so we talked about data silos. I think we talked about manual processes. I certainly have heard clients where they have to manually enter data into places. Unreconciled data, conflicting numbers. What happens if you do manual integrations? You do expose yourself to conflicting numbers. Delay reporting. Depending on how long it takes you to get that data in, it could delay reporting. And we certainly don't want to. We definitely want to speed up our month-end close, not delay it. Lack of resources and security and compliance concern. Anything else, Chris, here?
No, those are definitely, and I know that it's listed as integration challenges. I think those are more the challenges that organizations face when their systems aren't integrated. So, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head here. Looks like we have. Do we? Oh, never mind. So yeah, no. What I'm seeing here is, pretty much some of the bigger reasons why an organization would want to integrate their platform.
Sounds good. I'm going to move on to our next slide. Integration options. So when we talk about integrations, there are options in terms of how we would want to go about in integrating systems, right? The item on the left here, the first item, pre-built integration. So there are a lot of cloud-based systems, as we had mentioned, and many of the cloud-based systems have what I call pre-built integrations, meaning these third-party solutions invested in building an integration between their system and some other platforms. For example, let's just say it's an AP automation or even payroll integration. Like, for example, ADP, for example, invested in building an integration between the ADP platform, Workforce Now, and Sage Intacct, as an example, right? So you have these pre-built integration. Then you also have, as an option here, file import. So file import is definitely an integration option. It is generally at least a two-step process, meaning the data is in the file. You got to get the data into the file in a format that is acceptable by the system. And then you have to, point to that file and then, and import that data. So it's definitely an option. I don't want to not say that it isn't an option, and it could be the right option for you depending on the data, depending on your situation, right? Another option is the API. You're leveraging the API integration tool. So many of these solutions have open API, and they allow you, leveraging the API, to push data, either pull or push data into the system. So Sage has a RESTful API that you can use for that purpose. But generally, if you're going to use the API, you have to write some code and to streamline that integration. And then lastly, we have is the third-party integration tool like DataBlend, right? So these are tools that have pre-built templates, and we'll talk about templates later, but these, they have already pre-built integration templates that allows you to integrate, certain systems, depending on your requirements as well, right? These templates could change. I'm going to let Chris talk about that more because this is,
Sure.
the data blend solution. And then on the right column here, frequency of integration. So what I put together here are some things to think about as to what options should be used depending on your situation. So think about the frequency of the integration, meaning if you only need to integrate this data, whatever it may be, once every quarter or once a year or, even once a month, it depends on, like I said, the frequency of the data, then the question is, what is the right option for you? So certainly if it's a once a year kind of thing, maybe a file import may be the right approach for you, right? We also want to think about the volume of data that you need to integrate. So the larger the volume, that means it's prone to error. You want to automate it as much as possible. That goes to the next item, detail versus summary. So you want to be careful as you're integrating data. You don't want to be in a situation of replicating data, meaning, maybe as you bring data in, you want to ask yourself, do I want to bring in detailed data or do I want to bring in summary data, right? And so I always caution about replicating data because you can get yourself into data reconciliation issue, and that's something that you don't want to do. And but you want to be able to reconcile back to the source. So that's something to think about. And then lastly, process maturity. So what I would say to that is it's easy to put in a process, whatever this integration process is, when you have a process than when you don't have a process. When you have a process in place, it's always easier to automate than try to create a process that isn't there. Just a couple of things to think about here.
Sure. I also want to add on the left side here a little bit about DataBlend in terms of how our tool works. And so I want to speak to some of these bullet points. So the top one is pre-built integration. So as Bulin mentioned, a lot of platforms have integrations purpose built for certain tools, certain systems. But sometimes it doesn't go far enough. The integration is somewhat limited. So while yes, there might be a pre-built integration between two systems that you're currently using today, it might just not do enough. And so what is great about Data Blend is that we can be, as long as we have access to the data in the source system and the target system, there's really not much we can't do. We are incredibly flexible, incredibly customizable. So if your pre-built integration today doesn't do something that you need it to do, well, Data Blend would be a great option for you. We can, again, like I said, we can be very flexible. We can Data Blend, the tool itself, is an ETL, which means extract, transform, and load. So what that means is that we have the ability to extract data from a source system as long as the APIs are exposed to us. And so that means we can bring that data in, transform it to how you need it, and then place it where it needs to go in your source system and your target system where you're looking to bring that data in. Now, one thing I also want to speak to is sometimes platforms do not have the ability to either for one reason or another don't have access to a certain API that you need. For one reason or another, it is locked down, and that could sometimes happen in the world of payroll. Well, in those instances, what we would do is we would actually, basically do this file import path, which is what we would do is we would take as long as the source system can produce a file with that information, like Bulin had mentioned, we could take that, drop it into Data Blend's SFTP, our secure file transfer protocol. It's there's a number of ways we can do it, but you bring it into this into a little file. It looks like a file explorer. I believe we've actually done some more development on this, but you would take it, drag that file into the SFTP. There would be a mapping document living in that folder. We'll then kick off that workflow, and we can get that to relatively automated, right? So you're not there's it is just one way that you can leverage Data Blend as an API to API platform. Again, we could also do an SFTP and run it through our platform as well and automate that. And then it's not on here, but we even have the ability to grab data off of a system that is hosted. If it's on a server, what we can do is we install, again, with the as long as we are aware of any firewall that we need to deal with, and we have the people that are hosting, we have their they're accepting us and allowing us to do this. We can install what's called the data agent onto an on-prem server, where we can then grab that data and bring it in through Data Blend and kick it off like a workflow, like any other process. So the flexibility for Data Blend is pretty limitless, but it all depends on that source system and that access that we have to the APIs or the data.
That's great. And an ability to schedule an import like that, even if it's a file import, I think it's just one less thing for the organization to think about and do.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So let's move on to our next. We come across to our next polling questions. Which system or tools are you most interested in integrating with? So fundraising or CRM systems such as a Salesforce, that's an example of a CRM system. Is it payroll, HRIS? Is it budgeting or a planning tool? Custom internal database or apps or other? I think this covers every possibility.
It's got, yeah.
The other covers everything else.
Exactly.
Let's see. There you go.
It's a nice spread. It's a good spread.
Exactly.
And I'm also curious what constitutes other and what the thing of point of sale, things like that. So I'm always curious about what people are integrating. So very interesting.
you know what? There are custom built systems out there still people are leveraging, right?
Absolutely.
So who knows? All right, let's move on. All right, modern integration platform. So I'm gonna, Chris, you want to kick this off?
Sure. Yeah. And a lot of this is what we've been talking about.
Yeah,
Data blend and modern integration platforms are typically they're purpose built for organizations that are easily adoptable. So um, what what I think that differentiates a lot of the current integration platforms versus older ones, they require a lot of um, back office technology coding. It requires your IT department to get involved. It's a it's a big to do. It requires all hands on deck.
yeah.
And you know what is interesting about today is that especially in the world of data blend, we've developed this low code tool that allows for really an easy adoption. Um, Basically what we do is we have a couple of meetings with an organization. We understand what are they trying to integrate, and ultimately what we're trying to figure out is what are the workflows, what data is going from the source system to the target system, and how often, the things that we just talked about. Um, but we also, if you ever go to DataBlend's website, and you go to our data integration page, you can see a list of all of our tools, all of the different platforms that we are currently connecting with. And you'll see there's quite a bit. And it'll let you know if you go there, it'll let you know whether what endpoints can we connect to, how we connect to it. Is it through API? Does it require SFTP? Is it an on-prem system where we would need to utilize the data agent? Um, so you'll see that, one, between the ease of adoption, the ability to connect with multiple platforms. Again, it can scale as cloud technology or as platforms advance and as they are making updates, we're updating as well. So, specific to Sage, we are constantly updating alongside them. As Sage is making updates to Intact, we are making updates to ensure that the connections that we have built are in compliance with Sage's current architecture. And then also, when it comes to using Data Blend or really any integration platform, um, you know, it's on the organization on how they want to bring that data in. Is it real time? Is it when you populate in one system, it's populating in the other? Do you need that to be scheduled at a certain time? Um, it allows for maximum flexibility, maximum adoption, and then in ease of use. Again, you'll always have, especially in the case of Data Blend, and I think it comes up in another slide about support. You'll always have support from us as well. So we're always monitoring connections. We're always making sure that if something were to occur, that we're able to jump in and fix it accordingly. So that is certainly, these certainly constitute what a modern integration would look like for you. It's no longer that incredibly expensive you know work that you need to do. It is now something that you can start small, and you could take a phased approach. You can, really what's great about it is that you can, take on this project as you need it. You don't need to worry about doing everything all at once. You can make sure that, what your plans are, can Data Blend follow that plan for your organization? And more often than not, we can.
And that integration is not about customization, it's about configuration and
Right.
being able to configure that integration. So I think it's huge as compared to, years ago when we had to deal with integration. So this is great. So I'm going to move relatively quickly because we have Still a lot of slides to go through
Yeah.
it. Only 20 minutes
It's been a great
left.
discussion, but I want to make sure we give Peter time to do his
Exactly.
thing.
I want to make sure we give Peter time to showcase. All right. Key factors for evaluating integration. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. First of all, does it have a pre-built connector to your technology stack? So I know a solution like DataBlend has many pre-built connectors to many technology systems that are out there. So you want to make sure that it integrate with the technology that you're interested in. How easy is it for non-developers to use? As we had talked about, these tools they're built for the, non IT people, they're easier to use but yeah, obviously you have to go through training on that, but it's really built for more of a non-IT folks to use. What's the time to value, meaning how quickly can you get this integration in place? And a lot of time with these modern integration tools, it's fairly quick, that's my understanding, Chris, right? In terms
Yeah,
of getting the integration up and running. What support is available during and after implementation? I'll let you take this one, Chris.
sure. No, and I'll be super quick about it. So yes, so you'll be working with a certified DataBlend implementer, and all of our connectors come with ongoing support. So we do offer other levels of support, but every connection that we have comes with a guarantee that we are constantly monitoring and will be there to fix anything that may or may not break. Or well, if it doesn't break, then we won't need to fix it. So I guess that's moot. But yeah, no, we definitely ensure that we've got you covered.
Yeah, and generally what I see is once the integration is built, it's going to run very smoothly. The only time I see that there's changes is if there's a requirement change. There's this piece of data that we didn't have 3 years ago. Now we need to, factor that in. Generally, that's what I see. And then lastly, yeah, you want to make sure it is scalable, meaning that it can do other integrations as needed,
Mhm.
the tool that can handle that, and you want it to be cost effective. So
Absolutely.
uh, this is a great picture. I know when I saw this picture, I've said this is a great picture to showcase how data blend. I'm going to let you speak on that, Chris.
Yep. And I'll be really quick. Basically, what this is just showcasing is that we have the ability to connect to multiple different systems. Power BI, payment systems, point of sales, CRMs, your ERPs, donor management. As long as we have access to an API, or as long as we have, honestly, as long as we have access to the data that you need, we can facilitate an integration between any two systems. Again, as long, what we like to say is DataBlend is as powerful as the tools that you're using. So there's not much that DataBlend can't do. It's just the level of access that we have to an endpoint or to an API. So it's DataBlend can do quite a bit.
Great. And I know this is a very busy slide, but
Yeah,
just to prove the point that there's a lot of systems out there that Data Blend work with. And so I think this slide kind of goes hand in hand with the previous slide in terms of that data integration. I
right.
just thought it
Yeah.
would be good to see some of these logos.
Yeah. And then, like I said, you can always go to our website to check out what other connectors that we have. That is just a sample, essentially. Do you want me to speak to this one really quick?
Yeah, that would be great.
Cool. Yeah, so these are just some of the, as the slide suggests, these are some of the benefits of data blends. The idea is that by doing an integration, you're eliminating manual effort. And by extension, you're removing the human element that can sometimes create errors. So the idea is that, when you're doing these manual processes, sometimes errors can occur, and that can then start to skew data over time. And so the idea is we want to, ensure a quick deployment of the system, getting all of your requirements that you need for the integration, what we're doing, how we're doing it, how often that we're doing it, and then making sure that supports your needs, right? So again, we're eliminating that the manual effort, so giving you more time to do higher level work, more strategic work, there will be less errors in the data, or hopefully no errors in the data. And then again, giving you that timely and accurate reporting that most organizations need. And again, you're no longer waiting till a certain point in time in the month. That information is constantly being transferred between the systems that you're currently using. Some of the popular use cases is recording donations in Salesforce for them to then show up in Sage Intacct, categorized by campaigns, funds, or donor restrictions to streamline monthly reconciliation. Again, giving you that peace of mind that the information is flowing between systems, and also removing that time crunch at certain points of the year. Budgeting, tracking for grant.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're all good.
My fault.
No, you're all good. I'll go really quick. Budget tracking for grant funded projects. Again, we're going to integrate grant-related donations and expense data, ensuring that you have accurate budget tracking and compliance with your grantor requirements. And then lastly, having all that information, again, that holistic view of your organization, giving you a way to evaluate the ROI of your efforts, and then also just creating and really taking that information and being able to strategize long term versus being pragmatic. Now you can be thinking long term and years ahead rather than month to month.
All right, we have a case study.
Yep. So I will again go through this one relatively quickly. I'm just keeping an eye on the time here. So Birch Family Services, they are an organization that serves people with autism and developmental disabilities in New York. They started out as a very small organization and it's grown very quickly. Their finance director was spending an exorbitant amount of time when it came to closing the books because nothing was integrated. They were constantly having to look at the information in Adaptive and Sage, reconciling that together. Now, what they needed to do is they needed to give different either the grant funder. Let me just I made some notes here. They had to supply reports to the board of directors, their program leadership, and then the government funders. And each of those reports required different things. So what we did is we built out the automation that would allow this individual to reconcile all that information in a very timely manner. Again, they were spending almost a full day getting all that information in, so it became a massive time crunch for them. But ultimately, we were able to get all of that integrated, and so allowing them to get all that information in a very timely manner. And it ended up being so easy for them to both integrate with Sage and Workday that they've also now started to integrate with Salesforce as well. So again, there's absolutely a way of thinking long term when it comes to integrations. How you can think about where do you start? What is the most pressing need, and then you build from there. So in this case, the Birch family, they were able to scale accordingly for their needs, and we were able to help them be an effective organization as they constantly are growing.
That's great. That's a great case story.
Yeah.
So we have our third polling question. How would you describe your organization's current integration setup? Fully integrated with real-time data flow, partially integrated with some automation, mostly manual processes between systems, or not integrated at all. We're actually going to, I know they're going to show the results, but we're going to move forward to the next slide. So I am going to stop sharing and then have Peter share so we can see a stop sharing. Yeah.
Oh, nice. The polling information just came up.
Oh, great. Partially integrated with some automation. That's great. Good to hear.
All right, can everyone see my screen at this point?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, great. So I'm just going to run quickly through at a very high level data blend and a couple different integrations that I can showcase here. So this is the dashboard of data blend, essentially what you'd see when you first log in. You can see I have a couple favorited workflows. You can see there's history here. to see what I've run in the past. A few examples of some credentials that you can connect to in DataBlend, and some scheduled workflows as well. And what I'm just going to show is a couple of these first ones here. So we have a flat file via SFTP integration to create intact JEs. And pretty basic workflow. Basically, I'm going to take this file right here, which is nothing too complex or anything, but I'm going to take that and just upload it into the DataBlend SFTP, which we can provide, and then run this workflow, which should then create a journal entry in Intact that we can take a look at. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to our SFTP client. Actually, I'm going to click into the workflow first because I have a lot of different credentials and I want to make sure I get the right ones. And I'm just going to open up my SFTP credential here and go to our client. So essentially, this is an SFTP site that DataBlend can provide. You can connect to it right within DataBlend or with like a third-party tool like FileZilla or something like that. I'm just going to upload a file that I have, the file I just showed, and just drag and drop it in here. Click upload, and now it's in the SFTP. And when I go back to my workflow, I can either run it from right within this workflow here, which is really a two-step process. I'm collecting the file and then doing some light data transformations, and then I'm creating the journal entries in Intact. I can click run right here to do it, or I could have gone back to my dashboard and clicked run because I favorited it, so it showed up on my dashboard. And you can see it's running right here. It's on step 3 of 3 already. I can view the steps as it's going. I have a third step in here, but I'm skipping that. So essentially, you can do that in DataBlend. You can, build a bunch of steps, and if you want things to be disabled then enabled, you can do that. But it looks like that finished. So if we go into our Intact sandbox here, we should see in our general ledger a new journal entry for a test file. And right there it is, flat file tests, and it's going to have those few line items in there that I showed in the Excel file.
Great. We have a question, and a question is, why would we use this kind of workflow instead of just importing a JE directly to Intact? Are there specific use cases that would apply to?
Yeah, one of the big reasons to use this instead of manual is DataBlend will handle all the data transformations automatically. So if you have complex rules, if you have logic, if you have mapping tables, things like that, that gets built one time in DataBlend. And then every time you upload that file, it's going to automatically run those rules, format the data properly, load it to Intact, and it's going to do it in a matter of seconds instead of you going into Excel and doing all of that manually, which can sometimes take a long time, can be prone to human error, unfortunately. So that's one of the main reasons. The other reason is if you can automate a file out of another system and have it just automatically hit the DataBlend SFTP site, it can automate the whole process. Basically, that file can hit the SFTP, kick off the workflow automatically, and everything runs end to end without you even needing to log into DataBlend. And again, this is just I just showed an SFTP example, but anything we can connect to via API, such as Salesforce, which is my second option here, that has a little more flexibility in scheduling and not even needing to do anything manually at all. You don't have to worry about even uploading a file or anything like that. You can just set this workflow on a schedule, or you can still log into DataBlend and kick it off anytime you want. But essentially, this second workflow will just create a customer in Intact. So I'm just going to create a new account here. We'll just say new. I already have a brand new account. We'll do even newer account. save that. Yeah, obviously, I could fill out all the things here and have that flow over, but I'm just going to keep it simple for now and just do the account name. I will run this workflow. And what this is doing is it's collecting from Salesforce via API. I have a collector set up. You can pick and choose the fields. You can see it actually right here. You can pick and choose the fields from Salesforce that you want to pull over. I've got account number and billing address and things like that. And then DataBlend does the mapping and the querying and everything. And then looks like that just loaded into Intact. So we should see, if we go to our customers, that brand, what did I call it? Even newer account.
Newer.
Just type the word even, there it is, even newer account. So
Even
that flowed right
newer.
over. Again, I didn't add city or state or anything, so that doesn't show up, but if I did, it would.
That's great.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to show. Happy to answer any other questions if they've come up. But and these are two very basic examples. You can do a whole lot more in DataBlend.
Yeah, and we only have an hour, so obviously there's, we have limited time in terms of what we can cover, but certainly, I mean, if you like to see more, just let us know. I'm going to, if you can stop sharing so I can share, Peter, and then
Sure.
we'll wrap up.
One thing I want to add while you're bringing up the slides, if you ever want to check out any demos with DataBlend, go to our website. We have a full library that you could check out, and it covers quite a bit, a whole bunch of different platforms, a whole bunch of different scenarios. By all means, check it out. Look around. What I love about our website is that we don't gate anything. You could pretty much check out testimonials. You could check out demos. We're pretty transparent like that. So feel free to go to the website, check us out, and learn a little bid about what we do.
All right, so this is we're almost to the end. Just a couple of takeaways. So make sure you involve all the parties that need to be part of this this project, right? Because when we talk about integrating data may be owned by other departments, and so you want to make sure you have the right people involved in that project. Monitor and audit integrations regularly. So whether it's every quarter or every 6 months or so, you want to make sure, just don't assume that this thing is running is exactly what you want. You want to make sure you do that check on a regular basis. Consider future proofing built with scale in mind. So when you're building this, think about just think about how you might want to set this up so that if there are changes down the road, your integration can handle those types of changes. And then finally, start with high impact, low complexity integrations, meaning that you want to maybe you want to do it as a phase approach, which is what Chris had mentioned. You don't have to do everything, all the integration all at one time. And it'll get if you start slow and start with some integration, you're getting your feet wet, and then you have some exposure to the tool. We've got to our last polling question, so if you can just maybe take a few seconds to respond. And then we're actually close to the end of our presentation. We are very active when it comes to our thought leadership presentations. We always welcome your feedback because this is really for the nonprofit community. And so if you have any topics that you would like us to consider for future presentation, please send your request to this email address as provided. And then finally, our upcoming events. We are a Sage partner, and one of the things we do is to present the quarterly release. It is a technical presentation, but if you're on Sage Intacct, feel free to sign up for the R3, which is end of August there. And then here are a couple of additional presentation. I just wanted to make a point that We do have an in-person seminar in the DC area on September the 18th. And this is very new. I don't even think we have a play that is up on a website yet, but I just wanted to let everyone know. And there is a URL there if you wanted to check out any of the upcoming presentations. So our time is up. And I wanted to thank Chris and Peter for joining us for this presentation. I hope it is, I also wanted to thank everyone that is attending. I hope this is helpful for everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in future presentation. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.